Displays a rectangle on top of the command line. That looks ugly. I want to, before I draw the rectangle, clear the screen. And then if I want to run that with Control R, now I'm drawing a rectangle, a blue rectangle, but before I do that, I'm clearing the whole screen. And something you might not be able to see is this is actually running 30 times a second. So 30 times a second, the computer is clearing away the whole screen, drawing it black, and then drawing that rectangle there. Clearing it away and drawing the rectangle, doing it over and over again, which is kind of wasteful at this point because we're not doing anything with it, but that's okay. Let's talk a bit about what a function is. A function is a bit of code that does something that you want to do, and rect is a function that has code that knows how to draw a rectangle, and I tell it what type of rectangle I want to draw by passing in things to the arguments of the rect function. So the rect function takes basically x1, y1, x2, y2 color. And then if you give it all those arguments, it will know how to draw. Draw a rectangle from this x1, y1 position in the upper left to this x2, y2 in the lower right, and this given color. Let's annotate draws a rectangle. Clears the screen. And then the CLS or clear screen function knows how to wipe away everything that's drawn to the screen, and we don't need to give it any arguments. It just knows how to wipe away the screen. It doesn't need any further information. So that's sort of like what a function is. You can write your own functions. Like if I wanted a function that's like super rect, and it took in, let's say, x1, y1, z1, x2, y2, z2, color. Whoop, color. I could write my own function, and then I could write code that draws a superrect, whatever a superrect. Z1, x2, y2, z2, color. Whoop, color. I could write my own function, and then I could write code that draws a superrect, whatever color. It just knows how to wipe away the screen. It doesn't need any further information. So that's sort of like what a function is. You can write your own functions. Like if I wanted a function that's like super rect, and it took in, let's say, x1, y1, z1, x2, y2, z2, color. Whoop, color. I could write my own function, and then I could write code that draws a superrect, whatever a superrect is. Probably a cube is what I'm referring to because there's a z1 parameter. So let's just say y2, z2. Color. I could write my own function, and then I could write code that draws a superrect, whatever a superrect is. Probably a cube is what I'm referring to because there's a z1 parameter. So let's just say cube. That was a cube. And in order to draw a cube, I would need to fill out this function, but I'm not going to do that right now because we don't need to draw a cube at the moment. So I'm just going to delete that, but it goes to say that functions are code that you can run easily, and PICO 8 comes out of the box with some pre-built functions, and you can write your own if you want. You might be confused by this 12 thing. That 12 refers to the color blue. The way you might want it to work is if I want to draw a blue rectangle, I would give it like the X and Y coordinates, and then I would just be like blue, draw it blue please, or draw it red please. That's not the way PICO 8 works. The way it works is you pass in an integer number, and then that refers to a color from 0 to 15. And if you want to know which color it refers to, you can go over to the sprite sheet editor. 0 refers to black, 1 refers to navy blue, 2 refers to purple, 3 refers to dark green, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 is red, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 is blue, 13, 14, 15. So 12 is to get a blue rectangle. There you go. And if I wanted to get an orange rectangle, this is the 9th color up here. So just pass in a 9. Doop-a-doop, and I get an orange rectangle. Hooray! Let's talk about some other drawing functions. I can draw a circle. Function of the circle, those are the first 2 arguments. The third argument is the radius of the circle, I'll do 10. And the last argument is again the color. Let's draw a beautiful pink rectangle. That would be 14. This is 14's color. Doop, boop, boop. And if I control R to run the code, I can see I'm drawing a pink circle there. If I want to be big. bigger. Right P set is another, make it pink, make it all pink. We can make it all pink. Oops. Unexpected end line. So I tried to run my code and then it did this, syntax error line 23, unexpected end of line. If I go back to my code, I can see it's talking about line 23 here, if I put my cursor over it. And I can see that it's an error because I tried to call a function and didn't do anything with it. So this is a syntax error. I wrote bad code. It's like if I wrote, computer, please draw a triangle. Computers don't know what that means. That's why this, that just said, let's do. So I passed in 10, which should just be 10 pixels from the left side of the screen. This is not proper syntax, but this is. So pset is another function that just draws a little dot on the screen. It sets a pixel to a certain color. So if I set, let's say 10, 100, let's do another pink pixel. Whoops, what did I do? I don't know. So pset is a function where you pass in the x value. So I passed in 10, which should just be 10 pixels from the left side of the screen. I passed in 100 for the y, which should be towards the bottom of the screen. It's 100 pixels from the top, and we're dealing with 128 by 128 pixel screen, so it should be almost all the way towards the bottom. 14 again is pink, and if I run it, oh, I see my little pink pixel there. So great. 28 pixel screen, so it should be almost all the way towards the bottom. 14 again is pink, and if I run it, oh, I see my little pink pixel there. So great. So these are kind of like our raw drawing functions. Let's annotate them. Draws a pink circle. Let's make it blue again. You see here, ls tells me what's in this folder. If you want to know what the commands are, mkdir. These are kind of, and let's create a new file for our game. Let's say the game 1. And let's load up game 1. There's a z1 parameter. That was a function is rectangle 2 color 10 pixels from the top. This variety is a yellow. Which is yellow? So 8, 9, 10. Let's make it a yellow pixel. If we wanted to, another drawing function is rectfill, which draws a rectangle but fills it in. Let's draw a green rectangle. It's going to be okay. Let's draw it near the upper right corner of the screen. So let's draw 80 pixels over, 10 pixels from the top. Let's make it 90-20, so it should be just a little tiny square. Let's make it green. What is green? 8, 9, 10, 11. Or we could do this dark green, 0, 1, 2, 3. There we go. We have a little green. 1, 2. What is green? 8, 9, 10, 11. Or we could do this dark green, 0, 1, 2, 3. There we go. We have a little green. Square. And similarly, there draws a filled green square. Similarly, there's circfill. There's, let's see, line, x1, y1, x2, y2, color, circfill, x, y, radius, color. So that's a good start. We have a game where it's just drawing a bunch of stuff to the screen, but that's at least something. What I want to do though is we want to have a game where you can actually play it. Let's have a circle that moves around the screen in response to button input. And let's have that, let's say that that's our player. So if you want a player to move around the screen, we need to store an X and a Y value so that when the player is moving horizontally, they're changing their X value. When they're moving vertically, they're changing their Y value, and they're just a little circle for right now. So what I need to do is I need to declare some variables. And functions are a little container of code that you can run easily. Variables, which are defined with local, are a stored value. So a variable could be set to a string hello, or a number 5, or 5.2, or negative 5.2. So variables are sort of like, if you've ever done some math stuff, they're sort of like that. You're saying x equals 5, and then you're playing with it a bit. So I want to start my player in the very middle of the screen, which this is a 128 by 128 screen, so the very middle would be 64. Underscore init is the right place to do this. This is all the code that happens when the card is first run. And I'm saying that at the very start, I want my player to be in the middle, so I'm going to say player x equals 64. Player y equals 64. Let's make this a little bigger. So we're setting the player x and the player y to 64 to start. These are just variables, they don't do anything. We can choose and the player y to 64 to start. These are just variables, they don't do anything. We can choose whatever we want to name them. We could say pumpkin x or whatever we want. Let's just do that. Let's make it pumpkin. Pumpkin x, pumpkin y. There we go. So we can name them whatever you want. Let's draw a little circle at pumpkin x, pumpkin y. I already know that circ is a function that takes an x and a y, a radius, and then a color. Circfill is very similar, but let's do, instead of setting a specific x, y position where we want to draw our pumpkin player, we're going to pass in those variables. Player y, whoops, pumpkin x, pumpkin y. That's the same thing as passing in 64, 64, because that's what pumpkin x and pumpkin y are set to. But the cool thing about it is we can change those variables and it will change where the circle is going to be displayed. We don't need a variable for radius, we can just set a radius of, like, let's say 10. And if it's a pumpkin, it should probably be orange, if everybody's okay with that, which would be none. Draws a cute little orange circle. So now if we run this code, Control R, we can see there's an orange circle in the middle of the screen. Lovely, that's our pumpkin. It's a little big, so I'm gonna lower the radius to 6. Let's try that. Smaller pumpkin now, there we go. And if we wanted to change the variables that they get initialized to, if I want the pumpkin to be more towards the left side of the screen, I could change pumpkin X, and then it's drawn more towards the left side of the screen. I could change it, 114 will be more towards the right side of the screen, and now the pumpkin's drawn on the right side of the screen. We've made some good progress, so I'm going to save with Control S. And you can see that it's saved into game 1 if I load game 1. That's all of our code. Good to save often, either by pressing escape and doing save whatever your file name is, or just Control S. That's what I typically do. But I want my pumpkin to start in the middle, which it does. Now I want the pumpkin to move. smaller pumpkin now. There we go. And if we wanted to change the variables that they get initialized to, if I want the pumpkin to be more towards the left side of the screen, I just change pumpkin X, and then it's drawn more towards the left side of the screen. I could change it. 114 will be more towards the right side of the screen. And now the pumpkin's drawn on the right side of the screen. We've made some good progress, so I'm going to save with Control S. And you can see that it's saved into game 1 if I load game 1. That's all of our code. Good to save often, either by pressing escape and doing save, whatever your file name is, or just Control S. That's what I typically do. But I want my pumpkin to start in the middle, which it does. Now I want the pumpkin to move around when inputs are pressed. So PICO 8 uses the Z, X, and arrow keys on a keyboard. I want whenever you press the right arrow key for the pumpkin to move right, left arrow key to move left, same thing with the up and down arrow keys. And we're going to want to put that under the _update function, because that's code about updating our pumpkin's position, and then _draw will handle drawing it in the correct position. The way we do this is if button 0, then split pumpkin x plus equals 1. So what this code does is button checks if some button is pressed. I forget which index corresponds to which keys on a keyboard. But if whatever button 0 is, if it's held down, which is what the btn function does, checks to see if a button is held down, then we're going to increment pumpkin x by 1. Pumpkin x plus equals 1, which means pumpkin x equals pumpkin x plus 1. It's just a shorthand, plus equals. Okay, so Charlie says 1 is right. Thank you, Charlie. So now if I press Control R to run the code, and I press the right button, my pumpkin moves to the right. Yay! Farewell, pumpkin. That's right. Thank you, Charlie. So now if I press Control R to run the code, and I press the right button, my pumpkin moves to the right. Yay! Farewell, pumpkin. But I don't just want to move right, I want to move all the directions. Checks right arrow is pressed. Move right. Checks if left arrow is pressed. You do if button 0, then pumpkin x minus equals 1. So pumpkin x refers to the number of pixels from the left. side of the screen. So if we some whatever your start in the middle is, or either to move left, and then under is if. That big enough, I'm going to middle of the screen, Control Alt. We can see it's wanted to change the variables that they get initialized to. If I want towards the left side, now the Control F and right with the if button 0, then split pumpkin x plus equals 1. So what this code does is button checks if some button is pressed. I forget which index corresponds to which keys on a keyboard, but if whatever button 0 is, if it's held down, which is what the btn function does, checks to see if a button is held down, then we're going to increment pumpkin x by 1. Pumpkin x plus equals 1, which means pumpkin x equals pumpkin x plus 1. It's just a shorthand, plus equals. Okay, so Charlie says 1 is right. Thank you, Charlie. So now if I press Control R to run the code, and I press the right button, my pumpkin moves to the right. Yay! farewell, pumpkin. But I don't just want to move right, I want to move all the directions. Check safe. Right arrow is pressed. Move right. Check safe. Left arrow is pressed. If button 0, then pumpkin X minus equals 1. So pumpkin X refers to the number of pixels from the left-hand side of the screen. So if we decrease that amount by 1, it will be going more towards the left. If we increase that by 1, it will be going more towards the right. Move left. And I'm going to copy this code. And we're going to do the same thing. 2 is up. 3, 2. We're going to do the same thing to the Y direction. If you press the up arrow, your Y. Arrow is pressed. Top of the screen down. Pumpkin moves around the screen with the up, left, right, down arrows. So this is kind of like all the code that moves our pumpkin. And then down here in the underscore draw function, you can see draw our pumpkin. You can see this is the code that actually draws the pumpkin on the screen. I have a little bit of trouble with the PICO 8 editor, the code editor in specific, because even now it's getting a little unwieldy. And we haven't written that much code, but like it's easy for me to scroll past stuff. The lines are long enough that I need to kind of like scroll horizontally to see all of them. So if you want to build a game entirely in the PICO 8 code editor, you totally can. I want something better. I want to edit this in a... Again, Canon? No, Canon. No, we're not. I'm not giving you feedback, because the feedback I'm going to give you is that my scanner's light broke, so now when I scan everything, this code in something where, and that will open up the folder where my code is saved. So you can see game-1.p8. This is the code that we're working on. I'm going to open up in Sublime, which is my favorite code editor. And now you can see if I edit something in this file and just run the code, it'll say loading external changes, which means that PICO 8 can pick up the changes that I make in Sublime, which is this text editor. Now, I have all this breathing room because I'm editing my code in Sublime, which is a much more robust text editor. I can see more of the code. This is what I do whenever I'm working on a game. I pretty much do this instantly, as I just move everything over into this code. This is the open up past stuff. So I want something better. I want to edit this in a... Again, Canon? No, Canon. No, we're not. I'm not giving you feedback, because the feedback I'm going to give you is that my scanner's light broke, so now when I scan everything, it's just pitch black, and that's not cool, Canon. More to the point, I want to edit this code in something where I have a little bit more, I can see a little bit more of the code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type folder, and that will open up the folder where my code is saved. So you can see game-1.p8. This is the code that we're working on.